Hello, wonderful Algebra 2 students. Now remember, the goal for this activity is about 2 minutes per question. They haven't told us how many questions are on the EOC yet. We do know the timing of it. It's like 35 minutes for one section, 45 for a couple more. And the first section does not allow for calculators, so they're giving us information a little bit at a time. I do know that the EOC is going to be on the computer this year. It's going to be on, I'm not sure if it's Elastic or whatever, but Pearson created it and it's going to be on there. In any case, let's go ahead and get started with these first 10 problems. Now today should be Thursday, March 10th, 2022. And sorry, my head's cut off just a little bit because I had to, because I'm a little bit tall and because I really need to focus on the board here so that you can see what it looks like. All right, so we're going to start working these first 10 problems one at a time. Is it comfortable in here for you guys? I can adjust the heat if you want to. Okay, everybody's good? Okay, except for Abby, you're a little bit cold. Okay, everybody else is fine though, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. This first problem, you'll probably recognize it from either the bell ringers or maybe from one of the reviews that we did before your ACT. But this problem is, you see an I in there. It looks just like a regular FOIL, a binomial times a binomial, a FOIL problem, but there's an I in there, and an I acts just like a regular variable, like an X or an N or an A or a B, except I squared is -1, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and FOIL this thing. First, outers, inners, last, here's the tricky one, 6i squared. That I squared immediately turns into a -1, which is multiplied by the -6, just like the I squared is multiplied by it, turns that into a positive. We end up, when we combine like terms, the 8 and the 6 combine into a 14, the 4i and the -2i, -12i combine into a -8i, and our answer ends up being D right there. All right, let's move on to the next one so that these videos are sort of concurrent. And by the way, please pause. Remember, again, the goal for this thing is not just to get the answer. It's not just to see that that answer was C or D or whatever it was. The goal is to understand how we got that answer. All right, so if you're just watching this video and then marking the answer and moving on, that's not really the spirit of what we're doing. So remember to pay attention to the explanation. I want you to always try these problems on your own. That should be in the written directions as well. Try the problem on your own and then watch the video solution, all right? But I don't want this to get too long-winded. I swear I'm not going to lecture too much. I'm just going to talk about these problems and how they fit in with everything else, if they do. I really tried to organize it in such a way, like we'll do polynomials, and then we'll do equations, and then we'll do polynomial functions, but it just didn't work out that way because there's so many sample problems, and we're gonna do a lot over the next 7 days, all right? All right, so the next one is a word problem, but it just explains something. As soon as you see the word rectangle, be sure and draw a rectangle, okay? The length of the blanket is 10 inches greater, which means more, which means addition, than its width. So we're going to call the width W because it tells us it's W. The length is 10 more than W, so the length is W plus 10. And we need to describe the area. Area is length times width. So it's just going to be that times that, or B right there. All right, let's move on to the next one. What is the remainder when x to the third plus 3x squared minus 10x minus 14 is divided by x minus 3? Now, you may recognize this as polynomial division. Hopefully you did, in which case you should think synthetic division. Now, this is something that you're going to have to put in your head as we approach the EOC. It's got to be in there because there's definitely going to be one of these kind of problems on here. So I'll go to this side. We're dividing by x minus 3, so we actually divide by a positive 3. We list our coefficients, 1, 3, -10, -14. We make sure that every degree is represented. There's the cubed, there's squared, there's linear, there's the regular. We leave some space and we immediately drop down our first item, 1. Then we multiply. Remember mama? Multiply, add, after you drop down that first one, okay? Drop down the first one, then we're multiplying, then adding, then multiplying, then adding, then multiplying, then adding. There's our remainder, 10. It says, what is the remainder? Answer would be 10. All right, let's move on. Which expression is equivalent to 4x plus 6y squared? Now, this is a strange problem because it really is we're just going to FOIL this. Instead of memorizing how to square a binomial, just put it beside itself. It's squared. So it just means 4x plus 6y times 4x plus 6y. Okay? See, same thing. 4x plus 6y squared is the same thing as 4x plus 6y times 4x plus 6y. That way you only have to remember square. You know what a square is here, and you only have to remember FOIL. You don't have to remember a separate formula for squaring a binomial. Now, we're going to go ahead and FOIL this thing. 16x squared plus 24x plus 24xy, xy, plus 36y squared. Combine our middle two, we end up with 48xy plus 36y squared at the end here, and then 16x squared at the beginning. Now here's the weird thing about this problem. This problem doesn't have that as one of the answers. This problem has M, P, R, and S, and they look very different. So your job now is to decide which one of these answers matches your answer. And the question in this, and the answer in this case would be R, because if we squared that, it would be 16x squared. If we multiplied those together and doubled it, and then if we did that, it would be